love to do this in Spanish, but sadly, I only know gracias, sí, and hola. So I think that would have been a bit difficult. To begin, I want you to picture this scene. You're flying along, you're at 2,000 feet above the Japanese Sea in a small plane. On your right is North Korea. North Korea is about 2 hours away. On your left is Japan, about 3 hours away. Behind you is Russia, 4 hours away when you left, and you're headed towards Seoul in South Korea. Suddenly, ahead, you can see a line of cloud that cuts across in front of you, from the Japanese side into the North Korean side. You're not allowed to fly into cloud. Big no-no, you don't have the right training, the plane isn't properly equipped for it. What do? Do you, A, go to North Korea, give it a shot? B, you go to Japan, that's 3 hours away, you don't have the right permits, you don't know what the weather's like, maybe it's not great. C, you go back to Russia. At this point, Russia, again, 4 hours away, that's a long time. You have to recalculate your fuel. You have to check if you actually have enough daylight, because you can't fly at night. And again, the weather changes quickly. Maybe the weather's bad now. This is a question I was not expecting to have to ask when I decided to fly solo around the world. I'm really lucky, both of my parents are pilots, and I grew up around planes. That was my life, was aviation. And I knew from a very young age that I was going to fly. I wanted to become a pilot, I wanted to be in the sky. I didn't mind big plane, small plane, I just wanted to fly it. So I wanted to fly, and I thought, well, what if I went on one of the greatest adventures of all time? What if I flew around the world? What if I saw the planet from 2,000 feet? This perspective that nobody else gets to see. But even at a young age, I knew it's impossible. I mean, why should I be the one? Who am I to be the one who gets to fly around the world? It's too expensive, it's too dangerous, it's too complicated. How am I supposed to solve those issues? So I went through school, didn't really think about it very much, got my pilot's license, loved it. And it's only when I got to senior year of high school that I thought, with that attitude of why bother trying, it probably won't happen anyway. Well, it definitely won't happen. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to take a gap year. Okay, I'm going to take a year out of school, and I'm going to do this 100%. I'm going to put all of my efforts into it and give it my best shot. Okay, so where do I start? There's a few things: permits and paperwork, a lot of paperwork when you're flying. A route, you need a route. You need sponsorship. Sadly, flying around the world does cost a bit of money. And the last thing, you need a plane. It's quite difficult to fly around the world if you don't have a plane. So okay, let's get started. Thankfully, I had my parents to help me with all of the paperwork. They were super important in my journey. Without them, I could not have done this. Then it was sponsorship. How do you convince strangers to give a 19-year-old money to fly around the world? I don't know. It's a miracle that I got money, to be honest. In the beginning, I emailed 500 different companies, asking them for money in return, a logo on the plane, a logo on my cap, whatever I could do to try and bring them some marketing. They all said no. Great. So now, a month before departure, I still don't have enough money to do it. When I'm stressing out, I'm very nervous, when suddenly a Bulgarian man phones me up one morning and says, "Hey Zara, I heard about what you're doing. I think it's great and I want to help you out." And just like that, I had my main sponsor. Last thing, route. Route. Loads of fun. You grab a map and a pen and you draw a line. That's it. That's basically all I did. It was a lot of fun. And then a plane. I'm looking for a fast aircraft, one that has good fuel endurance, and I need a very small aircraft. I need a plane that is a microlight, essentially, an ultralight. And the Shark in Slovakia was an obvious choice. Goes very fast, great for fuel, and they were happy to work with me. So I had all of these things. Now there was nothing left for me to overcome before I could fly around the world. Oh wow, it's happening. So in August The day of departure, I set off and I'm shocked, I'm here. Finally, this thing is happening that I never thought would be possible. And I leave, and on day 2, I'm getting ready to cross the Atlantic Ocean. I've got my amazing orange jumpsuit on, an absolute fashion staple. And what it does is the Atlantic Ocean is so cold that if for any reason there's a problem with the plane and I have to land in the water, then that suit will increase the time I can swim before hypothermia kicks in from about 30 seconds to 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So you might ask, Zara, how is 5 minutes going to make the difference if you're stuck in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? Well, 5 minutes is enough time for me to get my life raft out, jump inside, and call for help. Luckily, I never had to test that theory out, so I don't know if it really works. So I'm flying along, and I'm going from Scotland to Iceland. It was a difficult journey. I was very low to the water the whole time. I was stressed, it was tough, but I get to Iceland, and I'm greeted with one of the most incredible sights on this planet, an active volcano. I didn't fly over it, I didn't want to risk it, but I got to fly around it and see the amazing lava flowing down. Next day, Greenland. Greenland is one of the most remote places on the planet. It is intimidating because it is very cold, it is very remote, and there is essentially nothing apart from icebergs and polar bears. So, not very nice, but still beautiful. So one of those beautiful yet intimidating things. I reached Canada, and I'm thinking, it should get easier now. I've crossed the Atlantic, I'm good, I'm done. The transatlantic is the hardest thing you could do as a pilot. It'll be fine now, super easy, I don't have to worry about it. Well, not quite. I'm traveling down Eastern America, and all these unforeseen challenges keep popping up. At one point, I made a bit of a mistake. I forgot to check when the sunset was. So I take off, I'm very happy, and then I realize the sun is setting and I am still very far away from my destination. Oops, I can't fly at night, it's quite dangerous. I'll just land somewhere. I landed in a place called Washington. Not Washington, D.C., Washington in North Carolina, a tiny town in the middle of very rural US. Trying to figure out how to get to the nearest hotel. I managed, by this point it's dark, I managed to get to the parking lot completely empty. And I figure, okay, you know what? I'm going to hitchhike at night in the dark in the United States, because why not? I'm sure it'll be fine. And sure enough, at one point a car drives in this empty parking lot, and it's a man, and I ask, could you bring me to the nearest hotel? And he's like, yeah, sure, why not? And he brings me to the hotel, and all is good. And I tell my mum and other people the next day, and they go, Zara, you did what? You hitchhiked with a random man at night? How risky, how dangerous was that? And I think, well, I thought that was the safest thing I did that day. So I thought it was really cool. And then I noticed how generous strangers were. It was incredible. So I'm heading south, I'm going to Colombia. Colombia is the point. From then, I head north again on my way to keep going around the world. Colombia is amazing. I really enjoyed it. But I was confronted with thunderstorms for the first time whilst flying in my life. They're quite unpredictable. You don't really know when they're going to pop up, and they can be quite scary. Because in a small plane, the last thing you want to do is fly in a thunderstorm. From Colombia, I'm traveling north again. I'm going through Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico. I'm having a lot of fun. That was probably the best flying I did. The weather was perfect, the scenery was amazing. And I get to Veracruz, and I'm greeted with an earthquake. That was in September, and it was the first time it was an earthquake, and it was quite scary. I remember the building I was in was kind of moving, and I remember thinking, wow, I am really tired. Like, my head is just... And then it started moving a bit more, and I thought, no. So I'm heading north. I'm going to Alaska. And I'm going to Alaska and to cross the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is very, very big, and I have to go from Alaska to Russia to minimize my time over water. And I get to Alaska, my apologies, sorry, as I'm traveling up Western America, I get to do some sightseeing. And I get to Alaska, and again, greeted with the most amazing scenes and views, but I get there a bit too late. And my Russian visa has expired, and I need to get a new Russian visa before I can keep going. So I wait, and a week goes by, and I get the visa. It was very quick. But then the weather becomes bad. Suddenly, it's winter. It gets very cold very quickly, the weather gets really bad, and I'm stuck there for a month in Alaska. There are no trees there. It was so cold. I did not see a tree for 1 month. It's very strange. It drives you a bit crazy. It's like, where are the plants? Where are the animals? Finally, I make it out, and I'm going to Siberia. I'm going to Russia. I was very scared because it was minus 35 degrees Celsius at the time, and I had essentially become a test pilot because my plane had never flown, my engine had never flown in those kinds of temperatures. I didn't really sign up for this, but it's something you kind of learn to deal with as you go along. I reached the Russian coast, and it is beautiful. Again, no trees, but it's just this white landscape. It's like hills, but then you throw a white blanket on the top of it. It was very beautiful. From Russia, I'm heading south again, and that's when I had my flight from Russia to South Korea, where North Korea became a problem. It was the first time when I dealt with political challenges. Normally it was weather, maybe the aircraft, maybe a bit of paperwork, but I was never in danger because of politics, because of other human beings specifically, which I thought was very interesting. If you're interested in how I dealt with it, I just kept going. I was like, fingers crossed, it'll be okay, we'll see. I was fine, luckily. The line of cloud cut across after I was able to head back to South Korea, so I was completely fine, didn't have to deal with it. But it was one of those moments when, again, you're thinking, it's really just me. I lost my safety net. If anything goes wrong now, if there is truly a line of cloud that's blocking my path and I can't get to South Korea, what do I do? Before, I might say, I'm done, I'm out, someone else take control, but now it's just me in the plane, so how do you deal with that? The rest of the world was amazing, so I'm heading south into Indonesia, and from there, I'm heading home. Through Singapore, through India, through Saudi Arabia. India was fascinating because at the time of year, the air pollution was quite bad. It was smog, it was very, very heavy. And actually, because of it, I had to change my whole route. It was so bad sometimes, it was hard to see actual mountains before you reached them. So I had to change my whole route, I couldn't see much. It was still an amazing country, I loved it. But I was confronted with the effects of humanity on the planet. The next day I'm flying to Dubai. Dubai is in a desert. There is no rain, there are no clouds. Great, I was really looking forward to flying there. I'm flying, it's 8 hours over water. And I reach Dubai, and there's a thunderstorm in Dubai. The wind is so strong, I can't land at the airport I'm supposed to land. After 8 hours, I'm so tired, I want to go to bed, I want to sleep. But I can't go to the airport because the wind is much too strong and there's a thunderstorm. So I land elsewhere. And I asked the guy who was at the airport, I tell him, we're in Dubai, there aren't supposed to be thunderstorms here. And he says, this is the first thunderstorm we've had in over 2 years. So I really picked the best moments to go to Dubai. But again, it turns out it was because of cloud seeding. So the humans in the United Arab Emirates were purposefully changing the weather to make it rain. Very interesting. As I'm heading home, I'm greeted with one of the most incredible sights I could have seen, the Saudi Arabian desert, with hundreds of camels. Beautiful. And only 2 weeks later, I'm home. I'm greeted by my family. It all feels so surreal that I've done this journey. But there's a few things that I definitely took away from it. One, which is going to sound strange, the planet is very small. It took me 5 months to fly around it. But I kid you not, South Korea is very close from here. It sounds strange, but it's true. And the second big thing was that if I hadn't said to myself, let me do this, let me do something crazy, let me put all of my effort into it, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't have flown around the world. And so for all of you who have big dreams, go for it, do something crazy, and don't postpone your dreams. Thank you.